Here in this video we will dive deep into the differences between the two xenomorph hybrids seen in the Alien movies. One is the newborn, that was featured years ago in the movie Alien Resurrection, and the other is the offspring, which was seen recently in the movie Alien Romulus. These two share quite a few similarities, yet quite a lot of differences too. So let's compare them both here. So, origins. The newborn was a grotesque human-Xenomorph hybrid born aboard the USM Auriga in the late 24th century in the 1997 movie called Alien Resurrection. Its creation stems from the cloning experiments conducted by the United Systems military. These experiments aimed to clone Ellen Ripley along with the Xenomorph Queen embryo inside of her. However, the cloning process resulted in genetic contamination between Ripley and the Xenomorph Queen, leading to unforeseen consequences. The Queen, instead of solely producing Ovomorphs, developed a secondary reproductive cycle, complete with a womb. This deviation allowed her to give live birth, to the newborn, a nightmarish creature born of this unnatural blending of human and Xenomorph DNA. Now, the offspring was introduced in Alien Romulus as one of the cosmic horror aliens. This one was born from a disturbing blend of human and alien genetics in the year 2142, aboard a derelict space station. It originates from Kay, a pregnant woman who, in a desperate attempt to protect her unborn child, her embryo, injects herself with a vial of a black goo pathogen. This pathogen, known as Z01 here in this timeline, is a recreated version of the original alien substance, which is chemical A03959X.91-15, and based on its residual material extracted from the xenomorph specimens created in the Romulus lab. The black goo pathogen, infamous for its role in creating the xenomorphs and corrupting life forms, mixes with Kay's fetus, leading to a monstrous baby that gestated in just a matter of hours. Now, for appearance, the newborn stands out as a horrific pale and fleshy humanoid figure that blends the most disturbing elements of both species, xenomorph and human. It is taller and bulkier than a standard xenomorph drone, with a bipedal stance and a more human-like form. Its skull is elongated, though far shorter and more rounded than a typical xenomorph drone, merging seamlessly with its hunched back. The creature's face is disturbingly human, a skull-like face complete with deep-set eyes, a nose, and a mouth filled with fang-like teeth. Unlike standard xenomorphs, the newborn lacks a biomechanical chitinous exoskeleton, appearing instead with skin that is almost flesh-like and disturbingly soft, giving it a more organic, disturbing look. Missing many of the traditional xenomorph traits, the newborn lacks a tail, it lacks dorsal tubes as well, and an inner jaw which is so iconic to its skin. Instead, it has a distinctive appearance marked by its bulging black eyes and twisted malformed features. The creature's hands are large and powerful, ending in long human-like fingers that can slash a queen's face with a single swipe. Then we have the offspring. This one resembles a nightmarish fusion of human, engineer, and xenomorph traits, its body bearing clear marks of all three species. It stands tall with a pale, almost corpse-like skin that is disturbingly human yet marked by biomechanical textures reminiscent of xenomorph physiology. Its elongated limbs and slender frame hints at the creature's unnatural growth. The creature's back features have something which appears to be underdeveloped xenomorph dorsal tubes, and instead of fully formed spines, the area is cratered and continuously secretes the black goo pathogen, a sickening reminder of its corrupt origins. Its face, unlike the countenance of most xenomorphs, retains the face of an engineer, with a visage that clearly resembles both a human and the space jockey, the engineer, the ancient race responsible for the black goo's creation and also of humanity. Its eyes are entirely black, devoid of empathy or warmth, and its mouth, while seemingly human, contains metallic teeth as well as a retractable inner jaw which is characteristic of the xenomorphs. This jaw serves both as a tool for feeding and a lethal weapon. The offspring's abdomen and groin are marked by unsettling flesh slits and protruding ribcage. It also has a white bony tail which grows at a rapid rate, clearly visible in real time. As for behavior and intelligence, the newborn is seen to be emotionally unstable and immature. It behaves more like a child driven by primal impulses. It forms an immediate bond with Ripley 8, seeing her as its true mother, while it reacts violently towards the Xenomorph Queen, which it perceives as a competitor, and ultimately kills the giant Xenomorph quite easily. This emotional complexity sets it apart from the typical Xenomorphs, which operate purely on hive instinct. The newborn is capable of experiencing curiosity, affection, and rage. Though its mental state remains highly erratic and dangerous, its emotional immaturity and lack of understanding of its own strength makes it all the more deadly, as it often toys with its victim like a child exploring its environment. As for the Offspring, despite its grotesque and inhuman appearance, it exhibits an unusual degree of sentience and malevolence. Unlike the animalistic Xenomorphs, which operate on predatory and hive instinct, the Offspring shows signs of deliberate cruelty and sadism. Its actions are not purely driven by hunger or survival. It actively revels in suffering its victims, displaying a level of pure malice rarely seen in other Xenomorphs. This behavior is most evident in its interaction with Rain, whom it chases with both animalistic aggression and its disturbingly human-like enjoyment of the hunt. The Offspring's psychological makeup is marked by a combination of instinctual drive and emerging twisted sentience. It shows a perverse attachment to its mother Kay, initially feeding from her before ultimately killing her, driven not by the need but by a grotesque desire to consume the black goo within her, much like how babies want to suckle on their mother's milk. Now, when we compare both of them side by side, we first have to take a look at size. The newborn was stated to be 2.7 meters or around 9 feet in height. The Offspring from Romulus, however, was seen to stand around 3.65 meters or 12 feet tall. When the newborn emerged from the womb of the Xenomorph Queen, it was already 9 feet tall, and through the rest of the movie it never grew an extra inch at all. Meanwhile, the Offspring was the product of a synthetic black goo designed specifically for humans to accelerate and slow down their metabolism at will. So when it was first seen, it was merely the size of a small baby in an egg sac filled with an acidic blood. In a matter of minutes, it grew to an astonishing size, defying every law of physics, as is the case of the black goo's non-Newtonian characteristics, which was passed down to the Offspring. As for the visual aspects, the clear difference here are the faces. The newborn appears like a skull wrapped in a thin layer of skin, with sunken eyes, human-like teeth, and an elongated head that merges with its hunched back. The Offspring, however, appears more like an engineer with a round head, a bald head, with black beady eyes, and a mouth full of metallic teeth hiding a secondary jaw like a Xenomorph. The newborn clearly appears like a hybrid of a human and a Xenomorph, born from the womb of a Xenomorph Queen and possessing the DNA of the Queen as well as that of the clone Ripley. The Offspring from Romulus appears like a hybrid between a Xenomorph, a human, and an engineer, born from the womb of a human female after the synthesized black goo, the Z01, was injected into the pregnant female and it traveled into the fetus, changing its very nature and essence. Not much is known about either of their biology except for what was seen in the exterior, but we can hypothesize that these two have a similar way to regulate their metabolic rates, as is the case of every Xenomorph variant. While the newborn seems to be more stable and slow in growth, the Offspring is more erratic in growth and can grow to a gigantic size if left unchecked, that too in just a short amount of time. Both are obviously physically stronger than a drone, and the newborn being even more powerful than a queen. But a final difference here that we can infer is within their cells, in their DNA. While the newborn has more of Xenomorph DNA mixed with Ripley's to a certain extent, the Offspring has more of human DNA than Xenomorph, and the black goo actually brings out the dormant engineer phenotype hidden within a human DNA, as these two species, human and engineer, share an almost identical genome, owing to the engineers creating life on Earth and most probably creating humans too. And that's all we have today on the differences between the newborn and the Offspring, two rare hybrid Xenomorph variants seen in the Alien movies. Now, if you liked this video, then watch this other one too. And if you want to browse for other dragon and monster content, including Xenomorph content, then check out our channel. We might have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.